Chapter 235. The same yearning and hunger as before were absent. However, their kiss seemed to convey even deeper emotions. The surprised gasp that slipped out between his parted lips was sucked back in, sending a shiver down his spine. As he stumbled back, another hand came forward to firmly encase his waist. The heartbeats of both bodies pressed together were indistinguishable. Either swallowed the emotions Kishir continuously fed him, unable to comprehend them. How am I supposed to deal with my assistant who is ready to leave without even a word of thanks? His whisper, thin as it was about to break, flowed between their lips. How did someone like you appear before me? Underneath his lowered eyelashes, his twisted red eyes were too close. Through his transparent eyes, like mirrors, either could clearly see what expression Kishir and he himself were making, enough to send shivers down his spine. Ah! The moment he read the intense longing in his eyes, as if he was looking at light, an indescribable, strange emotion welled up. Unable to bear the weight, Yuzir bit his lip, only for Kishir to gently stop him with another kiss. From within the cheek that he held, heat rose as if a flame has been passed. Perhaps that's what he felt last night when his hand touched his cheek. A powerless feeling that he couldn't resist just by being touched, and a hotter regret than that. They continued to kiss for an indeterminate amount of time. The deep connection that first seemed to resolve the regret built up over a missed heat period became softer each time they separated and reconnected. In the end, it was as gentle as a small bird pecking, a tingling sensation marking its conclusion. In the satisfaction and lingering feelings, as if his head was filled with hot water, either without thinking to wipe his wet lips, rested his head on Kishir's shoulder, catching his breath. His head was completely blank. Today, I received a report that the second prince of Nerlan has arrived in the west, a little ahead of schedule. Holding Yudhir's waist, Kishir whispered in a somewhat hoarse voice. The first expedition will therefore leave tomorrow, moved up in the schedule. Originally, it would have been just you and a few others who are already selected, but now the plan has changed. Kishir's news about the first expedition team, as Khana had mentioned, floated vaguely in the heat that had not yet subsided. Are you really coming with us? You're too reckless when left alone. The hand that reached out was unbearably soft, tracing from Yudhir's hair, his sweaty nape, to behind his sturdy ear. And there is one more fact that I haven't told the others. What is it? Tomorrow, the Emperor plans to publicly announce that I am the owner of the Divine Sword. A surprise that almost stopped his breath washed over him. Either forgetting even the passion that had just subsided, lifted his head sharply. Is that true? Yes, the last trial, mainly for the supporters of the Apeto family, has now ended. There's still an ongoing investigation related to the issue. Anyway, the time has come. As he said in front of the wall engraved with the mark of the first Emperor's sword, his chest warmed as he recalled the omitted memory. Is it okay for you not to be there? It's all right. There is no one here who will simply believe upon hearing the announcement. Kishir softly chuckled, gently caressing Yudhir's ear. So, this is about presenting undeniable evidence? It seemed that he had already discussed everything with the Emperor earlier that day. Although he didn't go into the details, the news Yudhir had heard was sufficiently surprising. Yudhir took a deep breath and bowed his head. Congratulations. It might be a bit early for congratulations, but thank you. Kishir chuckled in an unusually genuine way, his face honest. Seeing that boyish smile, Yudhir suddenly knew that he would never regret what he had done the day before. It was a selfish emotion, surprising even to himself. I should really get going now. He had to descend now. There wasn't much time left for preparation, and yet for some reason, his body was unwilling to move. It seemed Kishir felt the same. His fingers playing with Yudhir's hair and ear wouldn't stop. All right, I should leave. Only after giving a firm squeeze to the arm he had been holding and caressing a few more times did Kishir finally let go. To cool down his passion, Yudhir took a few deep breaths before leaving his final words to Kishir. But Commander, You said I acted recklessly, but you too, Commander, must not take such risks as yesterday, especially if you are to become the master of the divine sword. For me, your safety comes before anything else in any situation. Please consider this when evaluating my actions. It seemed Kishir didn't expect those words. His eyes slightly widened. Yudhir didn't wait for his response and promptly returned to leave. During his descent down the staircase, a mix of various feelings ambushed him. Excitement, anxiety, and a lingering warmth intermingled, making it difficult to stay composed. He questioned why the impulse he felt whenever he saw Kishir only grew stronger the more he indulged it. For the current dispatch mission to the west, Kishir divided the cavalry into 3 groups. The first dispatch team was an elite few tasked with making contact with Nerlan's second prince Ajane, ensuring his safety and escorting him to the destination. The second dispatch team was to head west a bit later to scout the situation and determine how far the monsters had spread. The third group will stay back in the capital, maintaining the cavalry. After the first and second dispatch teams joined up, they would decide whether to send the third group based on necessity. Naturally, Yudhir was included in the first dispatch team. Originally, he was supposed to lead the first dispatch team, but Ajane's schedule to the west was earlier than expected, and Kishir's cycle ended suddenly, causing a change in plans. Everyone's here on time. Under the dim dawn, Kishir, clad in a deep navy cloak, lightly surveyed the members of the first dispatch team gathered before him, a smile on his face. At his side was Nathan Zuckerman, similarly cloaked, inspecting a few misty-wind horses, their hoofs cloaked in soundless fog, in a manner that suggested his proficiency with the magic marker for controlling these creatures. In order to keep today's agenda a secret, I made up another reason and borrowed those horses, wondering who would care for them. It seems Nathan Zuckerman has been taking care of them all along. Nathan had been appointed to accompany Kishir on this mission as his adjutant. It was somewhat of a sudden decision, but no tension was apparent on the knight's face. Yudhir glanced at his colleagues standing next to him. The ones selected for the mission had abilities suited to protecting Prince Ajane while demonstrating swift mobility. Kana, who could comprehend information under any circumstance, Gakane, who could pierce the enemy's weak points by moving his shadow clone silently, Emon Philang from Sul Division, who wielded the power to summon darkness to conceal his body, the elder siblings, who could teleport short distances instantly, and finally, Lusan, the priest from the medical division, were selected. Although most of the members who had been part of the mission to retrieve the redstone were present, reducing the overall tension, Emon and Lusan couldn't hide their trembling nerves. I wish Enon had come along too, but if he doesn't want to, there is nothing I can do. In fact, Yudhir had asked Enon if he was willing to participate in the mission. However, the response he received was an outright refusal. I don't want to. It's not like I have to go. I don't want to leave the capital if I can avoid it. Of course, if you ask me to assist you in the name of Luma's guardian, I would. But I doubt you would do that. Ydir, of course, had no intention of forcing him, so he accepted Enon's decision. However, it seemed that Enon was still bothered by his refusal because he sent a variety of medicinal herbs and helpful drugs through Lusan today. Seeing Lusan's shoulder drooping under the weight of the heavy pouch, Ydir couldn't help but let out a small chuckle. He didn't seem to have any problems when I met him briefly yesterday, so I guess I can trust him. During the preparations to leave, what concerned Ydir most was checking his physical condition. There hadn't been any issues when he fought the Imperial Knights, but his power flowed so smoothly that it was difficult to control, which worried him. Enon, whom he had briefly met under the pretext of needing wound medicine, swore a bit up hearing Ydir's story, but fortunately he didn't see any major issues. If you don't want to die soon, stop doing crazy things. Even if you really came from the future, you should at least value your life, shouldn't you? Is my thinking strange? Even though the schedule was changed suddenly, I appreciate everyone gathering here. There is no time for long speeches. You have all briefed on the mission, so let's move immediately. While Ydir was thinking about Enon, Kishir, who had finished his inspection, started speaking softly. The members, clad in black capes, all nodded and climbed into the misty wind horses that were prepared in advance. After Kishir and Nathan Zuckerman had mounted their horses, they dashed out without anyone seeing them off. This is my first time riding a horse. Only when they had left the capital in a blink of an eye and the city walls were visible in the distance did Lusan, holding tightly onto the horse's mane, loosened his grip a bit and spoke with a trembling voice. This feels so strange. Are you sure it's okay? Just relax, it's fine. If you're tense, they'll sense it. Really? Gakane, who was running by his side, tried to console him, but Lusan was even more surprised by his words. From behind the priest, those eyes were wide as a frightened rabbit's. The elder siblings let out joyous laughter. Priest, don't be scared. Even if you fall off, we will catch you. That's right, we are really strong, you know. Lusan, who had never seen the transformed elder siblings, took their reassurance with a grain of salt. Only the other members who knew the truth of their words held back their laughter. The tireless misty wind horses ran at a speed that would have taken over a week if using a carriage or regular horses. With each stretch of their fluid, unruffled bodies, mountains and fields disappeared behind them in a blink of an eye. Minimizing their meal and sleep times, they kept running, and within 2 days, they reached the boundary of the region referred to as the West.